Okay, first thing you want to do is get some baking paper. Hopefully you've got some. Take it out. You want to cut yourself off a piece slightly longer than an A3. Okay, and I would just put a fold on one end, try and make it nice and straight. Okay, so I end up with a bit of tracing paper like that. Then you've got the plans you should have printed out. So we'll take the first one, which is the aerial image. Doesn't have to be that one, but either that or the existing contours is the one you want to start with. They should all fit together. So what you need to do is just overlay like such, and with your straight edge in this case I'm using a set square and a pencil. Trace the key boundary lines so that you match them up every time you change the underlying plan. Now we did make these plans so that they should be at a scale of 1 to 2000. You might want to just double check that. There's a bar scale on the bottom of each sheet. And as you can see, I'm just tracing the boundaries of the property. Certainly you want to do enough to be able to overlay the other sheets without too much bother. You should also draw where Moonee Creek Drive connects to the property. And also, if you look at the northern end, you'll see Moonee Creek Drive as well. The other thing you need to just trace is obviously the easements. Wouldn't bother doing every easement, but certainly the outlying one closest to the potential development site. And right, when you get that completed, you should have something that looks well, hopefully okay. Should have an outline. So I've just flipped this paper over just so you see the outline. Look closely, there's an outline of the boundaries of the land there. Yep. Next, we want to start marking on some of the other constraints that we've got. So probably key one is the zoning map. That's your zoning map. Hopefully you can put that underneath and up against that edge that you created, and they should just about fit together nice and neat. Okay, something like that. Then you need to draw the zoning map. You might even want to use different colour pens to indicate the different types of lines and what they represent. But the main area you want to trace off is the R2 zone. Okay, which is something like that, because the rest of the land is zoned E2, which is environmental conservation. So once you've done your zoning plan, you then put that one aside and maybe move to your, what have you got here? We'll move to the koala habitat plan. Basically the same thing. Put it underneath, line it up, and then you can trace off. So all we're doing really is putting layers together, if you can imagine. Okay, so the koala habitat I'm just going to do in a blue pen, just so it's different. No, it's not a very good blue pen, but anyway, it's doing the job. Doesn't have to be all that accurate. So essentially I've now mapped off within our development site the areas identified as being koala habitat. Okay, well, pretty easy so far. Next we might want to do our bushfire. So I should do the same thing. Line it up underneath. And I might choose something different this time. So basically really the whole of the site is pretty well category 1 bushfire. So I'll just mark that with a sort of bit of a broken line. Okay, so now I've got all these lines on the plan. The other critical line, obviously we've got a contour plan. Now on this plan you can either, perhaps on the plan itself, trace out the flood line. So from the notes that you're given, you'll see that all lots should be contained on land above the 1% flood level, 3.1. Okay, The minimum floor level is 500 above the 1% flood level. But anyway, the 3.1 is the critical contour. So let's say RL3. So we look for RL3. I might use a highlighter for this one. Okay, so RL3 should look something like I've got on my plan. Now if you overlay the transparency again, you can now see where RL3 lies, and we can possibly just use again the highlighter to follow that line. I mean, you can do this with different colour pens. I'm just using the highlighter because that's what I had next to me. Okay, now got that on. I've got my koala habitat line, I've got my bushfire line, I've got the easements, I've got the zoning. So we're all starting to come together. I might just highlight the zoning line, sorry. Okay. Now we've also got a creek line which is called unnamed creek. So we might put those unnamed creek lines, we might draw that through. Okay, so once we've got all of those lines on our plan, we're ready to start working out some of the other limitations that we have. So if we turn to the second page, won't worry about the minimum lot size right at this point. So the second point says exclude urban development from within 40 metres of the bank of Cunningham's and Moonee Creek and 20 metres from any other creek. Okay, so we need to now plot a line at 40 metres from Cunningham's and Moonee Creek. Hopefully your plan is at the right scale, 1 to 2000. I'm just doing a double check. Yeah, I'm sweet. Okay, so the 40 metres is from the bank. Just remember that, not the middle of the creek. Okay, you can see a bit of a dotted line which is meant to represent the 40 metre, the top of the bank, 40 metres. So I'll just go around, mark points at 40 metres. Obviously going around a bend, go on sort of radial lines. So there's a line 40 metres from Cunningham's Creek. There's a similar line from Moonee Creek. Okay, line from Moonee Creek. Something like that. Now we'll also, I've just noticed there's an open drain there, which is pretty well like a creek, so we might just mark that out. I'll put arrows just to indicate the direction of flow. Now there's other creek. We don't really have a clear idea on the banks, but we're talking 20, so if we go 25 from the centre, let's say, each side. Okay, now we can plot a line which is essentially 25 metres either side of the creek line. Okay, now we've got a plan where we've mapped all of those various constraints. What else have we got here? All high value vegetation with a low level of habitat disturbance is to be protected. Well, I think you need to just review the aerial photo and make some judgment on what you consider to be the high value veg. A minimum of 40 metre separation between future housing and bushland to provide for suitable asset protection. Okay. And perimeter roads should be provided to separate residential development from bushland and protected areas. Perimeter roads should be a minimum of 8 metres curb to curb. Moonee Creek Drive is a collector road, at least 18 wide. All other roads can be 15 wide. Okay. So somehow we're going to get Moonee Creek from Moonee Creek Drive from the southern boundary through the site to where it's indicated at the northern boundary. Okay. Now we've got these other constraints we've got to consider as well. So this is where you really start to look into this development and just try and work out perhaps where Moonee Creek Drive should go in the first instance, taking into account the various constraints. And then once we've got Moonee Creek Drive established and we're happy with that, then the land generally to the west of Moonee Creek Drive is the land that you then need to consider how you might develop it. All right, hopefully that helps a little bit to get you started. Thank you.